Hey guys, how's it going? So this is my review for the movie The Witch. Came out in 2015. It's spelled VVITH. It's by Robert Eggers. He did The Northman, which is an awesome movie featuring Bjork about Norse mythology, Norse peoples, and basically he writes modern day folk horror movies that are absolutely phenomenal. And he did the newest Nosferatu remake of Nosferatu from back in the silent movie era days, right? One of the first horror movies ever. So he just did the remake that's coming out in December. So The Witch is an amazing movie. Absolutely one of the best movies I've ever seen, to be honest. The dialogue, so good. The plot line, so good. The filming, directing, the cinematography, absolutely amazing. Okay. So I want to read you a little excerpt here of what it's about. So it's set in 1630. And it's heavily based on New England Puritan folk tales. That's how you know this is a folk horror movie, drawing inspiration from various written accounts, journals, and court records related to witchcraft, particularly focusing on the anxieties and beliefs surrounding the supernatural during the early colonial period in America. Okay, this movie is awesome. It's about a family, a Puritan family, a Christian family that comes from England and comes to America. And they live near the woods, and they start to see and feel all these supernatural things going on. They have a little baby. The oldest daughter is out with the baby. The baby's gone, taken. She doesn't know where it goes. She's playing peekaboo with it, and then it just disappears. And she sees some brush, and the word in the street is that a witch took it, right? And you see the witch there. And she does a human baby sacrifice. So if you're watching the movie, that's the most grotesque part of it, is right in the beginning. If you can stomach it, you can close your eyes for it. But essentially, this movie is a Christian movie. Okay? The entire movie is about this Christian family. It's chock full of prayers, really good, hardcore, old world Christian English prayers. Not just things like out of nowhere. They're like routine prayers that I've never even heard. Okay? It's full of scripture. It's full of realities of being in the Christian life. Understanding temptation, being full of sin. It answers these questions, or brings up these questions rather, of if you have an infant and it's taken away and it dies, does it go to hell? These are questions in the Christian church that have been debated for thousands of years. Okay? Now, it shows the father's struggle. It shows the children's struggle. It shows issues between the oldest daughter who's growing into her sexuality and jealousies between the mother and them, and accusations going on. These things still go on to this day, okay? Everything in the movie is realistic, and it's all from a Christian perspective. I've never seen more Christian dialogue, more Christian ideas, thoughts in this horror movie called The Witch that most Christians would never touch. They would never go near it. I'm telling you right now, it's a Christian movie. The only reason it's not Christian to the eyes of the church, right, would be that it's not all wholesome, and it's not all good things happening at all times, and it's not a happy ending, and no, it's real. Okay, it shows murder, it shows death, it shows witchcraft. Well, guess what? That's all in the Bible. Cain and Abel, one of the first things you see in the Bible is a murder. If you saw the Bible in a movie, it would be like what I just saw. It would involve incest, murder, witchcraft. All the darkness of life is mentioned in the Bible. So that's why I don't turn a blind eye to the things in these horror movies. They depict life in reality, right? You have shadows, as you see here. You have the light, which is Jesus, and then you have Satan, which causes the shadows. Okay? So, one thing I want to mention to you guys. Watching horror movies, I like to do it. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm not saying a Christian should do it or shouldn't do it. I'm just explaining what I do and why I do it. Okay? A is the art form. B, like, I'm an artist, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a storyteller, I'm a writer, I'm a musician. Okay, I know about cinematography. I was a photographer. I used to make films. I've done all this stuff. So for whatever reason, horror movies are some of the best crafted movies through storyline, through cinematography, through the visuals. The visuals alone are just, boom, just the best. And like I said, I've never seen a more Christian movie other than like basically a documentary about Martin Luther or, Wycliffe or, you know what I'm saying? one of the people from the Reformation, right? And those are great movies. I saw a movie about the Anabaptists, which was amazing. I love all those old school movies from the 70s about the Christians, like the real accounts, not like the cheesy things you see on like Pure Flix. Bro, Pure Flix is garbage. That's just my opinion. I don't see nothing good on Pure Flix. God's Not Dead movies. Give me a break, man. They're all about merging church and state. By the way, I just saw Trump is all proud and happy that he made, oh, we're going to bring prayer back into schools. That's against the Constitution. We have a separation of church and state, especially in a public school. If you got a private school and you want to do prayers, that's totally cool. You can already do that. Government funded, government money going to schools, you have to keep religion out of the schools, right? Because our government says you can't establish a religion in the government area. And public schools are government funded, government run essentially. So if you think it's a good thing to put prayer back into school, okay, well then why don't you let the Muslim pray? Right? Why don't we let Hindu prayers in? No, everybody's crying about, no, we don't want that. We want Christian. What if you're in a school and you have Muslim kids? They have to do the Christian prayer? Again, why don't you afford the same right to the Muslim? This is where people are getting mixed up. America's about keeping that stuff out. Okay? If it's a Christian school, of course, have Christian prayers. No problem. But it's a government-funded school. It should be out. Separation of church and state. Okay? Look at the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law regarding religious worship or thereof, or anything thereof, okay? Church and state are separate. All right, I got off the point. What I want to bring up real important, guys, when you're watching a horror movie, if you're doing it, a lot of times you're going to have actual rituals, especially if you're watching a folk horror movie, which is the ones I love, which talks about witchcraft, okay? I like to learn about witchcraft, not from a way of like, hey, this is cool, I want to try it. No, it's like fascinating to see the power behind this stuff. And I know about the power behind this stuff, okay? But understanding that God is in control. And we saw that in this movie, right? Now, what they got wrong in the movie is, they got a lot of things wrong. One of the things wrong was they were worried about their infant son's salvation because he was taken by the witch and he was killed. Or they weren't sure if it was a witch or a wolf or what it was. But he died, right? Before he could get baptized. And they were worried. The wife was in complete doubt, thinking he's in hell. The father wasn't sure. Well, you should be sure. Bible is clear. Infants, babies, before the age of accountability, right? Which could be 18, which could be 13. 13, I would think, would be probably the youngest that the age of accountability would be. They go to heaven, okay? David's very clear about that in the Bible. He was crying for his baby son who had died, the infant. When he was sick. He was praying to God to save him. Then once the kid died, David stopped praying, stopped fasting, put on his clothes and said, let's get back to work. Let's get back to life. The servants were confused. King David, why? He says, when he was sick, maybe God would have changed his mind. Hence I prayed, hence I fasted and wore sackcloth. Now that he's dead, he says, I know I'll see my son in heaven. That's what David says.